Hello, and welcome to my happy little bubble. Welcome guys, today we're going to be looking at a simple bolognese recipe. Obviously I would imagine most people know bolognese is simple. This one, fantastic, dead straightforward. However, you cannot rush it. You cannot rush a bolognese. It needs to have time in order to taste delicious. So let's go through what we've got. We've got some minced beef, some beef stock, some garlic, an onion, some fresh picked rosemary from the garden, 2 tins of tomatoes, tomato puree, some butter, salt, pepper, olive oil, balsamic vinegar, obviously the spaghetti, some parmesan for the top, and if you want some basil on the top as well afterwards, and 1 glass of red wine. This is a particular favourite of mine at the minute, which is a Californian Zinfandel variety. Very tasty. Cheers. We'll top that up later. 1 glass of red wine. So, here's the recipe. Let's get started. Because I like with my spaghetti, rather than diced up garlic, you can see it's a nice and coarse plate. We get our clove and we basically just rub it, and it goes into a lovely little puree. 1 onion, peeled onion. So we've got our onion, we've got our garlic puree. So now we're going to heat up a pan with a little bit of olive oil, and we are going to put our garlic in first. So we don't want the oil too hot. Just a nice warm oil just to get that flavoured, and then as we add the onions we can keep that stirring so nothing catches and nothing burns. So our oil's come up to temperature, we've got our garlic puree, and as I said, got this little brush on this nifty little plate, and I'm just going to take this into our oil. We don't want this to burn, we just want this to flavour our oil, and the smell straight away, I'm sure you can imagine, is lovely. So, 1 spoon, use this one, and we'll give that a little stir around, just for a few moments, and then from there we will add in our onions. So, onions and garlic are in. I've added just a little splash of water into there because I don't want these to fry, I just want them to sort of sweat down slowly. And into this I'm going to add in a little bit of salt and pepper and our fresh rosemary. That's going to go in right at the start with the onions and the garlic. So they've been sweating down now for approximately 4 to 5 minutes. And you're probably wondering why I didn't dice up all the rosemary. You could obviously do that. I just like to throw mine in and then sort of take the woodier stems out just before serving, and the rest of the leaves I quite like to see them in there, but you could chop them finer if you wanted. So at this point I'm going to get my balsamic vinegar, and I'm just going to put just a tiny little splash just into those onions, about a tablespoon, and then just cook that down a little bit more just to reduce the liquid, and then we're going to add our glass of red wine. Okay, so at this point it sounds like it's almost coming back to a fry. Our onions are nice and translucent even, which means nice and see-through, and we don't want the onions to colour or the garlic to burn. So it's at this stage, for the last little part of the onions, I'm going to throw in our red wine, but one more little sip for me. Oh, it's nice. Okay, in with the wine. Give that a stir, and then let that reduce down for a further 4 to 5 minutes, and then we're going to remove the onions and focus our attention on the minced beef. So again, that's coming down almost to a fry. We've reduced a lot of that liquid, and now I'm going to remove all of the onions and just set them aside for a little while. and they are smelling very sweet because of all that wine. And if you wanted to, you could add in a little bit of sugar, but I think that red wine gives them just enough sweetness. Okay, return your pan back to the hob. We want it on full high heat again. Add some olive oil, and then we're going to add in our mince. So let that oil come up. Add in our mince. A little bit of seasoning. Salt. Pepper again. And this for me is the important part. I like to add in a little bit of water. Because what we don't want is tough, chewy, hard mince. And this part, you want to cook this mince down for about 20 minutes at least before starting the next part. So we're about 15 minutes in now to essentially boiling this mince down, and as you can see it's really broke down all those fibres and it's become much more tender and you don't get this tough bolognese, and it's also a lot smaller. Once the rest of this liquid is evaporated, we're then ready to add our onions back in, and then we'll do our tomato puree and tomatoes, and then we are almost there. Okay guys, so at this stage we're going to add our onions, oh yeah, back into our mince. Give that a little scrape out, and we're going to mix all that together, combine everything. Make sure you get every last bit of that juice. And then give that a couple more minutes to reduce the last little bit of that liquid down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a well in the middle, and we're going to add our tomato puree into that well and cook that out so it's not bitter. And then we're going to mix the rest of it in, and then we'll add our tomatoes and our stock. Okay, so our tomato puree into our little well. We're just going to fry that out because it's got quite a bit of taste when it's raw. So we're just going to mix that out for a couple of seconds before then combining that into everything else. And this is where we start bringing our bolognese together. So we've now got quite a dry, red, tomatoey, oniony, garlicky mix, which smells divine. And then the last part of the puzzle is our stock. And our tomatoes. And once we've added our tomatoes, you may think we're done, but we're not done. Because if you remember at the start, I said we need time. So what's quite good is to let this sort of cook up on a morning or an afternoon, and the longer you leave it, the nicer it's going to taste. So go for a walk, go for a bike ride, do some gardening, go shopping, do some lovely things, and leave this on a low heat for at least another hour, and let all those flavours mingle and marry together before you start your spaghetti. So we've been out in the garden for a little bit, done a bit of work around the house, done some work from home, staying safe. But this has been left now for about an hour, and we'll have a look and see what it looks like. It should have reduced down, we should have a nice, much thicker sauce. And there we go. It's starting to smell lovely. We're getting that nice, rich, dark red and all these nice sticky bits around the edge. Make sure you get them back down into the sauce because that's your flavour. So we're going to start looking at the pasta, and then just before serving we'll add a nice bit of butter into here just to give it a nice gloss. Okay guys, so we're going to turn our attention now to our spaghetti. We're going to fill the pan with water obviously to boil, and people sometimes just boil it in water. You need really salty water, they say as salty as the sea. So we need heavily salted water, pasta in, and then we're going to add a couple of things at the end just to make it that extra bit tasty. So we've got our water up to a rolling boil, and as I say, we're going to salt it quite heavily. And when you think there's enough, put a little bit more in. And then we're going to add in our pasta. That should be enough. Let that cook. And then, as I said before, we're going to add a little bit of butter into our bolognese. And then we'll be getting ready to serve. Quickly jump into the greenhouse, and the kids don't like this, but I'm going to pick a little bit of basil for the top of mine. Couple more. So pasta's almost ready, nice and al dente. We're going to just throw in a last little bit of seasoning into the bolognese, and I like to put a little bit of this starchy water just into our sauce, just a little bit. Last little bit of salt and pepper, and we're ready to drain our pasta. So we're going to take some of our nice butter into the bolognese, and what we are going to do now is in our pasta we are going to do the same. Lots of butter, black pepper, and mix it all around, and just the addition of that butter makes your pasta fantastic. I'm going to do it a little bit more. And then we're ready to serve. So there we go guys, a nice simple bolognese recipe. You can do it at the start of the day and still get on with your day and have a nice meal on a night without much chew. What do you reckon guys? Nice?
It's amazing!
Yeah?
I liked it.
You liked it? Fantastic. So subscribe to our channel, and for more lovely little bits of food, little bits of gardening, little happy things inside our
Little happy bubble.
bubble. Cheers guys.